So here we are, we're going to go ahead and draw the stand for our Memphis inspired clock. First thing we need to do, as always, is when we come into Fusion is save our work before we even start. So I'm going to click on this and I'm going to look and see if I've got a project set up, and this is obviously the wrong project. It's not a lamp that I'm doing, that's with another group. So I'm going to click on this arrow here to open these options, and I'm going to create myself a new project, and I'm going to call the new project Year 8 Memphis Clock. Okay, and press enter, and that will create. You'll just have a little moment to think about it, and there it is created in here. Now it won't automatically change here, you'll have to double click, and now it's changed it, and that's saving to that new project. Then I need a file name, and of course we said we follow that sort of method of using our name. So Mr. Wilson, our year group, so year 8, and our project, what is the thing that we're actually drawing. So we're going to call that Mr. Wilson, year 8 Memphis Clock, and click save. And straight away it will change up here in the top level of your browser. Your browser contains all the details of your work, and you can see it's got the file name there. So we're going to go ahead and start, as we often do, by creating a sketch. So I'm going to click on create sketch, and I'm going to draw on this surface here. Now, slightly counterintuitively, although that's the left, if I draw, I'm actually going to be viewing it from the right. So if you look at how this corresponds to the view cube, this would be drawing from the front, and this would be drawing from the top. So this one, although it's our left-hand panel, would actually be viewing from the right. So I'm going to click on the right-hand side, and sometimes this will swing around automatically. If not, you can just click on your view cube and say, well, let's view it from that side. I'm going to use my L for line tool, so click L on your keyboard. I'm going to pull out a line, and I just want that to be 80 long, and press enter. Then I've got a second line. This is not dissimilar to the frame that you made previously. I'm going to click the line tool, and this time I want the length to be 125, and I want the angle to be 70, which you'll remember was the same angle that we used previously. That's quite a good angle for sort of getting balance on these things. And so we're going to click enter there. If you find these lines are all a bit sort of tricky to see past and things like that, you can come into your sketch palette and you can untick the dimensions and the constraints. And if you want, even untick the points if that makes it easier to see. Before we create the thickness of the acrylic, we're going to just change this very sharp connection down at this point here for something a lot softer. So I'm going to just put in, say, 30. Sorry, I'm going to put in 5. It was 30. I'm going to reduce that to 5 and press enter. And we've now got a nice smooth shape here. If you end up with a little piece sticking off the bottom like that, then we can probably, I wonder if we can just trim that out using our trim tool. Yeah, we can go ahead and trim that. Okay, so T for trim. And what we're then going to do is create our offset. So we're going to press O for offset and come over, and the whole thing hopefully should select in one go. If it doesn't, then you can select the lines individually. But hopefully it will select in one go, and we're going to just pull out an offset to 3 mm and click OK. You'll notice that the inside curve is much smaller than the outside, which is how it would be in real life, of course. That's what would happen as the acrylic stretched around a corner. Now, this is an open part of our profile, so I need to put a little line from the bottom there across to there. Okay, and it's still an open profile because it's not closed up at this point. So I'm just going to press my line tool again and click across there, and press enter. And you'll notice as soon as we do that, that it fills with colour, but it can't fill with colour until it's sealed at the ends. I'm then going to go ahead and just put that back in my home view, and I can now extrude that. Just before I extrude it, I'm going to Command S and save. So if my laptop does something funny, I'm not going to lose that 3 or 4 minutes of work. Then I'm going to press extrude, and I'm going to pull this out to a width of 80, so I can type 80 straight into that box, or I can just pull it out until it says 80 and click enter. And there is our stand for our Memphis inspired clock. The one thing that we want to do with that is put a hole for the motor, the clock motor that drives the hands. Okay, we could also radius the edges and things. I might do that as well. So how do we put the hole in? Well, basically, we're going to need to create a new sketch. And when we create a new sketch, instead of drawing our sketch on any of these 3 surfaces, these work planes as we call them, we're actually going to click onto this surface here. Okay, that's where our new sketch is going to be. And I'm then going to press L on my keyboard for line, and I'm also going to press X to give me a dotted or construction line. And if I hover along that edge, you'll see that at a certain point I get a little blue triangle. That's telling me I'm in the absolute center of that. And I want my line to come down at 90 degrees, and I want it to be 25 long. There you are. What I really am after is this point here. That's where my circle or hole is going to start. I'm going to turn off my construction button, so I can either click here or I can press X on my keyboard. Okay, but I'm going to turn it off because when I press C for my circle, I want to drag out an 11mm circle, and I want that to be solid, not dotted. Okay, that circle then I'm going to select, I'm going to press E for extrude, and I'm simply going to push it backwards to create a cut. You'll see it's going red, which indicates a cut. If I pull it this way, it's going to pull a pin out in grey, but I want to push through, so I could set the distance to -3. So in fact, let's do that because that's really all it needs to be, isn't it, to cut through the acrylic. And there you are. There is my base or stand for my Memphis inspired clock. I'm going to Command S and click OK. And if you want to be a little bit pro, you can go in and you can select these corners, and I'm just going to put a little radius on those so they look a little bit nicer and not so sharp. And I can obviously do that down at the bottom as well. If I just turn that around, maybe use my orbit tool, flip it like so, zoom in, and I could press F, select there, 5mm on that one. In fact, if you wanted to be really pro, you could use your F tool, click on this edge and say that you want that to be, say, 1mm. And look at that, it will give you a really nice smooth edge all the way around your product. Okay, so let's just go back to my home view. That's what we should end up with. Command S, click OK, well done, sorted.